To what extent do genes determine our behavior? What role do genes play in antisocial, violent, or aggressive behavior? What does the so-called warrior gene code for? We will try to answer these and similar questions in today's episode of the series Secrets of Genes, in which I welcome you. My name is Edward Kejnovsky, and I work as a geneticist at the Biophysical Institute of the Czech Academy of Sciences. Today, it is becoming clear that genes are behind more than half of the reasons why people resort to criminal activity. Less than half were then related to environmental factors such as growing up in a violent family. There have even been examples found of genetic variants that apparently link DNA and criminal behavior, especially among perpetrators of extremely violent acts. For example, one Finnish study revealed differences in the MAO genes among repeat offenders who committed more than 10 murders, attempted murders, and cases of grievous bodily harm. The MAO-A gene produces a protein called monoamine oxidase A, which is an enzyme that metabolizes dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, a chemical messenger in the brain that is released in response to positive stimuli. It can be understood as a chemical reward that regulates our mood and reinforces good behavior. Perpetrators of violent acts have a shortened variant of the MAO-A gene, which results in slower dopamine metabolism. People who possess this particular gene variant often lack emotional control, are extremely irritable, and tend to be aggressive in their behavior. This is the main reason why this specific gene has earned the well-known nickname warrior gene. In English, it is also commonly referred to as the warrior gene, highlighting its association with aggressive tendencies. The warrior gene is located on the X chromosome, and since women have 2 X chromosomes and men only 1, in women, the aggressive variant can be masked by the other normal variant carried by the second copy of the X chromosome. Whereas in men, the warrior gene is fully expressed. The prevalence of the warrior gene varies among different ethnic groups. Carriers of this gene are more common among nations whose cultures place great importance on combativeness and aggression, such as the Maori of New Zealand. It was somewhat surprising that scientists also found a high frequency of the warrior gene among the Chinese, a group not typically associated with violent behavior. Risky traits associated with MAO-A in the impoverished environments where some Maori live can manifest in drug use, alcohol abuse, or criminal behavior. Whereas in a different social context, such as among wealthier Chinese, the warrior gene could just as well be described as the entrepreneur gene. It is also remarkable that the vast majority of violent crimes are committed by men. There is another much stronger genetic factor at play, which has the greatest influence on criminality, and that is the male Y chromosome. And it is precisely on the Y chromosome that the exclusively male SRY gene is located, which encodes a cascade of biochemical reactions that ultimately lead to the formation of testes and the production of testosterone and sperm. Insurance companies test us for all sorts of things, and in questionnaires they ask us whether we smoke, how much alcohol we drink, whether we drive a car, and so on. However, the most risky factor is the Y chromosome and the genes on it. No ordinary gene, in quotation marks, damages health as much as SRY does. It is the cause of increased aggression and recklessness. A high level of testosterone drives men not only to take more risks, but also to smoke, drive carelessly, use drugs, and be more sexually promiscuous. Geneticist and physician Francis Collins even talks about so-called testosterone intoxication. Men are 16 times more likely to be in prison than women, and 9 out of 10 murders are committed by men. Should we reduce sentences for all men since it's not their fault? So, are we going to give different punishments to different people for the same act? Just because of genetic predisposition? Will some of us receive lighter sentences solely based on our genome? Or on the contrary, could the presence of a genetic predisposition to criminal behavior mean a harsher sentence justified by the fact that recidivism is more likely for this person? According to current law, any form of discrimination against a person based on their genetic heritage is simply prohibited. Are we really just clumsy robots? Their behavior is governed by the silent dictate of the genes that created us, genes that evolved from ancient replicators in just under 4 billion years. Are we merely tools or vehicles for their survival? Are we even free at all? Or do we just live in the illusion of our own freedom, while in reality we are completely under the control of our genes? And isn't it ultimately very dangerous if we convince ourselves that, as humans, we have an aggressive potential that we simply must experience, thus encouraging in people the fatalistic delusion that hatred, violence, and war are inevitably woven into our fate and are a necessary part of our nature? Personally, I believe that we are free and that we completely and fully decide our own fate and are responsible for our actions. That would be all for today. We talked about a few interesting facts from human genetics, specifically about the influence of genes on our behavior. In the next episode, we will continue with more questions about genetics and evolution. I'm looking forward to seeing you. If you enjoy my storytelling, I would appreciate a like and a subscription to my channel. I really value your support. Thank you, and bye-bye.